So you've started intermittent fasting and you are getting used to it, and you're finding it's hard to do because society around us, your family, your roommate, whoever you're living with, is having meals at regular times. So let's say they get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're having a breakfast and it's full of carbs and grains, etc. And that's the way you used to eat. And you're trying to learn how to do intermittent fasting and you're wanting to lose weight. And in order to do that, you do have to adjust to the people in your life. Now, if you live alone, it's going to be a lot easier. But if you do live with people, you do have to adjust and they have to adjust. And for instance, if you are used to having breakfasts every morning and you want to start doing the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, or 2MAD, which is 2 meals a day, and you want to start skipping breakfast, that's what worked really well for me to learn about intermittent fasting and to lose the last 50 pounds when I was very serious about doing that, was I started skipping breakfast. I'd try to go all the way till 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So if everybody else is having breakfast and lunch, breakfast at 7 or 8 in the morning, lunch at noon, and you're skipping both of those meals because you're even pushing it to 1 or 2 in the afternoon, what are you going to do? So what you can learn how to do is to just talk about it to the people, help them to understand, tell your friends, tell your family, help them to understand that you're not starving yourself, you're just allowing your body to rest, allowing your insulin levels to come down, and you will feel better doing this. And that's, most people want the best for each other if they, are in a good relationship. And so they do want the best for you. So if you say, this is actually what I want, what I'm learning about, this is going to be the best for my body to not eat with you at these certain times of the day. Now you can just sit with them at the table with a glass of water or with a sparkling 0 carb drink if you're still weaning yourself off of a lot of carbs. That worked really well for me at the beginning, which was having the artificial sweetened drinks, and it was a way of weaning myself off of so many carbs and so many grains. And so to go without those meals, you can do it where you're exercising your autonomy, I think is the word that I find useful in this situation, where I am my own person. I am deciding for myself what I want to do. And so I'm going to make that decision. I'm going to make that choice. And I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to eat at the meal times or the traditional meal times that in our society or the society we grew up in are used to eating. I'm going to eat at a different time. Now, ideally, it would be great to have at least 1 meal a day if you are in a relationship or in a family situation where you do have 1 meal a day that you eat with them. So I recommend that be at dinner time, at supper time. But you might actually decide, no, I want to actually have it at noon or at lunchtime. That's going to be the meal that I'm going to eat with everybody. And so it's sort of a compromise. They're going to compromise because they are having to adjust to you not actually sitting and eating the same foods that they are at the same time. You are compromising because you're not going to necessarily have that same feeling of enjoyment. They're eating something and you're not actually going to be enjoying that anymore because you're not maybe eating that type of food anymore, or because you're not actually eating at that time of the day. This was really a challenge for me because I love breakfast. Breakfast was my favorite meal. Brunch, oh my goodness. If somebody said, let's go to brunch, that would just be such a big treat because I loved the baked goods that would come with a brunch. And also, of course, loved the bacon and the eggs and the omelets and pancakes and waffles and muffins and coffee cake. And I used to bake all that. I still miss it because it was such a big part of my life. But I don't miss what came with it, which was, for me, not being able to stop. For me, it was the obesity. I could not stop. I was addicted to it all. So I'm glad that I've overcome that. It's been a process, and this last 2 years since I lost the weight and I'm maintaining the weight has been really eye-opening of how much that was a part of my life and is a part of our society. When you go out for breakfast or for brunch. Those types of foods you don't normally have at any other time of the day. You don't normally have pancakes for supper. And if you wanted to, then I guess you could go to an all-day breakfast restaurant or make them yourself. But typically those breakfast foods we don't have any other time. So if you actually are going to skip breakfast, you're going to miss out on those types of foods. And so I did go through a grieving time. I talk about this in some of my other videos about grieving and how healthy that was for me, or helpful it was for me to admit I am giving up something, and that's okay. There's going to be a time where you're going to go through this grieving time. You're going to miss it, but you accept it and then you move forward. And I am at that point where I've accepted that I might not eat these foods anymore. And once in a while, I will have them as a treat, but they certainly are not every day anymore. I haven't had dry cereal for almost 2 years, I think. I did make pancakes in the past month because my daughter's boyfriend was staying with us while he was isolating because his family had COVID, and they eat traditional food. And so I made some chocolate chip pancakes, which used to be every Saturday for my family, and they loved it. I loved it. And sure enough, when I made those breakfast type foods, they were tempting to me again. And I had to resist the temptation and maybe have a half of one every other day until they were done. It was a temptation, so I just don't even allow myself to make them on a regular basis if it's just me and my daughter at home. And so they aren't tempting to me because this is such an ingrained thing in my head, breakfast and have baked goods. And because I incorporated the intermittent fasting plus the low carb, and I really strongly encourage people to look into that, to do both for maximum weight loss and to maintain weight loss, that's worked extremely well for me. So the intermittent fasting without low carb, I could see myself becoming a binge eater where I would stop eating for these times and then I would eat whatever I wanted, and I knew that I wouldn't actually lose the weight properly and deal with the root cause for me, which was dealing with my sugar addiction, my carb addiction, my addiction to grains. So going back to intermittent fasting, what it's like to live with people and to skip meals and to extend the time where your body's not having to digest any food, or it's digesting the food that you ate the day before. It's a little bit of a challenge at the beginning, but if you can just think through the process every day, maybe make a little bit of concession to people and understand where they're coming from, because you used to be them. You used to be like them. You used to eat the breakfast. You used to eat the lunch. You used to know what that was like. And maybe you even look at other people who were skipping a meal and you used to judge them, and now you're in the same position. Well, that's where we have to remember, okay, I used to be that way. I used to eat those foods. I used to eat at those certain times. And then we can be empathetic to them and how they're relating back to us. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'd love for you to subscribe and like this video if you did like it, and share it if you want to share it with some other people or family members. I really appreciate all the subscribers. It's fantastic that my story and my weight loss journey is impacting people and helping people also lose weight. And, you know, the more we share, the more people can be healthy and to learn to overcome sugar addictions. We can beat this. And for me, I feel if I can do it after 40 years of yo-yo dieting, then anybody can do it. Thanks for watching.